So we're at Trans Pride, and I was trying to think of some readings that we could discuss today from the Bible that would be affirming and would help us in this journey of Trans Pride. So I don't know how many of you have Googled trans and the Bible. But if you have, and you were a trans person looking for some kind of affirmation, you're stuffed. Totally stuffed. And I mean that in the worst possible sense. I have never seen such ludicrous attempts at trying to twist scripture to say that to be trans is not natural and is against God. And about the first 50 entries in Google that I found said that. They said that God created man and woman, and God does not make mistakes. Well, that is right. God doesn't make mistakes. God created each person just as they are in the body that they are. But sometimes that body isn't quite right. Sometimes the mind and the body and the heart and the soul just don't connect with each other. And we've heard many stories from people over the years. That doesn't make it that God made a mistake. It doesn't mean that God said, well, this is wrong, so therefore I'm going to put something out there to make you feel as bad as I can possibly make you feel because you're doing something that's wrong. I read the stories and I was so heartbroken. Heartbroken that people will pick up a Bible and say, there must be something in here for me. And they're told there's nothing. Nothing. Not one scripture passage. And as MCC, we're inclusive, we're diverse, we have resources abound for everything. What did we have for Trans Pride, Bob? Nothing. Nothing. Not one thing. We have so much work to do. And my starting point for today is God does not make mistakes. But we do. We make mistakes every single day. And we've heard stories over the years of, our African and American colleagues who have experienced so much hatred. And we've tried to walk the mile with them. And just last week, Darlene wrote Praying While Black. And, we had a conversation around that. And for us to walk while somebody's, a white person, privileged at that, to walk with somebody who's black is very hard. I've told this story several times that a friend of mine, we were at SATA conference in LA, and we were sat down talking, and we had a few strawberry daiquiris, admittedly, but we were talking, and she said something about her colour, and she said, so people just don't accept me for who I am, and what makes me the person that I am. And I said, well, I accept you just you. I don't even see your colour. That was the worst thing that I could have done to her. Because I wasn't acknowledging everything that she was. The person that she was and everything. And that's why I picked this reading, because Sabra Chowdhury talked, and it was for 2014, but she talked about what it was like to be trans and how scary it was, even though the trans pride was coming up. We were terrified, but it happened. We made it happen. We're making history, and we won't let anyone forget. And it will be a truly inclusive history. This is the heart of me. I am trans, and I'm queer. I'm a person of colour. All of those things makes her the person that she is. And I picked the Romans reading, although there was one word in there I really wanted to change, or two words actually, where it said, rejoice with those who rejoice, mourn with those who mourn, live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. And I really wanted to take that out. We've been having a conversation this afternoon about somebody who talks about the poor people over here. And I wanted to take this scripture and just say, actually, if you read it in the context it was written, they didn't have much of an understanding of social graces, I don't believe. But it was about rejoicing with people when they're happy, but actually sitting with people and trying to walk a mile with people when they are mourning, when they are struggling. And I think that's what trans pride is about. We've had gay pride for years and years and years. And some people say, well, we don't need gay pride now because we've got equal marriage, so it's all done. Well, I hate to tell you this, but we've experienced some issues not this week, the week before. We were on a coach trip with somebody from Stephen Green's organisation, Christian Voice. Yes, your face says it all. And there's still much to be done in the gay community. But the gay community have somehow left the trans community way behind. It's not enough. So I'm going to get you to So I have some advice for us. We have to allow people to tell their stories. Each of us has our story, and sometimes we're quite good at sitting with each other over coffee and listening to stories. But I don't think that we ask people to tell their true story enough. When you hear the stories of people who have been trans, who are trans, who have struggled with being trans, try to live a socially conforming life because they can't struggle with that trans journey, or people that have been rejected by their entire family because the person who they are, they know who they are, but their family can't accept it. Then maybe, just maybe, we can walk a mile in their shoes. And it's not enough for them to tell the story, but we've got to keep telling the story. Darlene's telling the story again about to pray black and to what it's like to experience being black, because it's not enough that it was told before. It has to keep being retold and retold and retold, and there has to be place for it. Why do you think we keep retelling the stories of the Bible? We can't just tell them once. To tell people once that there's God's all-inclusive love in the Bible is not enough. We have to keep telling the story of God's inclusive love. We have to keep telling the story of Jesus, who spoke to everybody, listened to everybody, journeyed with people and loved them. And we have to respect. Now, I don't know about you, but when I first started experiencing people who were trans, I had no idea. And I was suffering with a bit of confusion, and this was 30 odd years ago when I started with MCC. And I'd see a man in a skirt. That was my impression, because I had no experience at all. And I couldn't respect the gender identity that they were in. I could only respect the gender identity that I thought they were. And what I've learned over the years is that we really do need to sit back and respect the person for who they are. If they want to use pronouns that we are uncomfortable with, so be it. If somebody, I quite often, unfortunately, when I'm stood in a queue, if somebody goes to take my money and they don't look up properly, if they look past here, they can probably tell I'm a woman. But quite often they don't look up far enough. They go, yes, sir. Well, how can I help you? I don't like it. I can't imagine how much worse it is for somebody who is transitioning through their life